In my last videos covering my East Coast road trip, I discussed my experiences at Kings Island and Cedar Point. In this video, I'll be talking about my days spent at Hersheypark and Six Flags Great Adventure and some of the setbacks we encountered along the way. So, we are on the road again. We've had a lot happen in the last, I don't even know how long it's been since I've done a vlog.
2 days?
2 or 3 days?
Days?
We went to Cedar Point. Obviously, we were on the road from Kings Island going up to Cedar Point in the last video. We made it to the Sandusky Hotel. Like we said, we had canceled our hotel breakers, so we did not stay at Hotel Breakers. We were actually at some other hotel that was close to Cedar Point, but not on property, unfortunately, due to our,
Gonna advertise the name?
It's Cedar Cove. It's literally right on the road.
It's really convenient in terms of pricing and location.
Yeah, pricing and location was good, and just like the hotel wasn't bad. It wasn't like the nicest hotel in the universe, but
it's like if you think of a beach motel, that's what you're getting.
Yeah, very quaint and
family run,
minimalistic, I would say, but it got the job done. We had a place to put our head at the end of the day. So,
however, the air conditioner stayed stuck on energy saving mode, and it was annoying.
Yeah. Kept turning on and off throughout the night, and didn't heat up the room or cool up the room like we wanted it to because it was hot. But luckily, that's behind us. We had a fantastic 2 days at Cedar Point. Love that park to bits. Millennium Force made me black out twice, and I have never experienced that on any roller coaster. And I'm pretty sure it was just me not hydrating enough throughout the day, but that experience is something that I will probably never forget. Steel Vengeance and Maverick were still kicking like they always do.
Maverick is not one to what's the word?
I don't know what the word is.
Underestimate.
Yeah,
I feel
Maverick?
like people don't talk about it enough when they talk about Cedar Point, like they talk about all the other ones. You really hear about how great Steel Vengeance is, which it is. It's an amazing coaster, and Millennium's great as well, but Maverick is really good, and I would say it's better than Velocicoaster, which is what I can compare it to the most.
Yeah.
What would you say?
So both are considered intimate blitz coasters, and I think Maverick is definitely going to be, it's a smaller coaster. It doesn't go as high, but it has, for what it has, packs much more of a punch, I would say. That second launch out of that tunnel is absolutely bonkers, and if they hadn't trimmed it, once you go launching out of that tunnel, I can't imagine what the forces would be like going into those banks and those stingle dives and stuff like that. So I love Maverick. Definitely was my favorite of the trip, I think.
Really?
Yeah, I think of Cedar Point so far. So
wow.
Yeah. Steel Vengeance still did good. I didn't like how it was down so much, unfortunately.
It was down a lot.
On our first day, we almost didn't get to ride it at all because it was down all day, and luckily we snuck in before closing. Millennium Force, they were having a lot of issues with a lot of the rides this trip.
Unfortunately.
Millennium Force was down a lot.
Yeah.
Rougarou was down all day the first day, which, it's Rougarou, we don't really care, but Millie was down, Steel Vengeance was down, Maverick had a couple down times. So, they're still working out the kinks, I'm sure, because it is, still early in the season, but hopefully that gets worked out for the rest of the season, because you'd hate to come only for 1 day at the park and not be able to ride, the big hitters. So definitely try to plan for 2 days if you're going to this park, just to get everything in and take it in. Yeah, but
I think all the rides being down definitely contributed to higher wait times too,
for sure.
Which really sucked because it was very hot out.
It was a scorcher. It was very hot. So yeah, I would definitely just plan ahead and plan to maximize. Just plan for downtimes, because that's going to happen. They're mechanical structures, and that's going to happen. But definitely, even if everything was working fine, I would still give it 2 days at this park just to get it all in.
And then you don't feel rushed either.
Exactly. So we left Sandusky about 3 hours ago. No, I would say about 3 or 4 hours ago.
We left at 5, so 4.5 hours ago.
4.5 hours ago. So I've been driving straight shot. We're headed to Hersheypark right now.
It's a great park. It's my home park.
Correct.
One of my home parks, but it is a great park.
I'm really looking forward to Hersheypark. I think it is my most anticipated park of the trip since I've never been here. We did actually, from the previous video that we had of showing off the whole layout of the trip, Kennywood was supposed to be today. It was actually one of the parks that we cut out of the trip, unfortunately, just because of, you know, budget and other constraints that came up along the way. We decided to cut this one out. We already bought our Hersheypark tickets, you know, months in advance, and we had not bought our Kennywood tickets, so we still kept Hersheypark on there. We were gonna go tomorrow to Hershey, but instead we decided we would go today and just get out of bed really early and hit the road, just because of the fact that Hersheypark is a really big park, has a lot of coasters. On a Saturday, I really don't think we'd be able to get much done. Plus, the weather is looking like it's going to be phenomenal tomorrow. So,
which works in our disadvantage in terms of crowds.
Right. So, we're trying to get as much done as we can today because it's a Friday, still technically a weekday. We might see a little bit of a crowd pickup later in the afternoon, but I think this morning should be okay. We're expected to arrive at 11:30. Park open is at 11, so
not too bad.
Yeah, not too bad. And then we have a hotel that we'll try to get the room.
It's a bed and breakfast.
Correct. So it should be good. We're looking forward to today. It's going to be a great day, and we'll have a little bit more footage coming for you in the next video. So like I said in that video there, we had wrapped up our days at Cedar Point and we're headed for Hersheypark. Since we cut out Kennywood and decided to drive all the way through to Hershey, we had to wake up pretty early. We hit the road at 5 a.m., getting very minimal and unsatisfying sleep in the hotel room. On top of this, I was exhausted. The constant driving, the intense heat, the soreness, the dehydration, and the lack of nutrition I was giving my body, let's just say it really did not take long in the trip before all of these things started catching up with me. We ended up getting to the park around 12 in the afternoon. We took a look at wait times on the app and saw some pretty wicked lines for Candemonium, Fahrenheit, Great Bear, and a few others. We figured that we would have a very limited amount of time in the park to knock out all 14 coasters, and that the most efficient thing to do was buy the fast track. So after we entered the park, we coughed up the hefty funds to do so, which was a decision we would soon come to regret. Just after we purchased the passes, I started not to feel great. It was a solid combination between nausea, dizziness, and some of the worst allergy attacks I have ever had. Just constantly sneezing, sniffling, and stuffiness. Despite this, we headed straight to Candemonium for our first ride at the park. I was really excited for this coaster, as I had heard it had similar moments to Mako, and I wasn't about to let a little bit of sickness get in the way of me enjoying my most anticipated park of the trip. However, I'm not sure if it was the way I was feeling, the fact that we were in the front row, the fact that the ops were extremely slow, or what, but I came to find out that Candemonium is easily one of my least favorite B&M hypers. I just didn't feel like it provided any forces for me, and I walked away pretty disappointed. What really made the whole experience worse though, was the fact that Candemonium was posted at a 60-minute wait, and it easily had a 15-minute wait at best. With our fast tracks, we basically merged at the same point as the regular line did, which soured our view of getting them in the first place. We were optimistic that it wouldn't be like that anywhere else, but we would be lying if we said it wasn't. Anyway, after Candemonium, we decided to work our way into the park and hit up Comet, which was a fun little wooden coaster with a decent layout, before we made our way over to Super Duper Looper. During all of this, I was constantly battling with my nausea and allergies, which really made it difficult for me to enjoy any of my rides. I would have to stop for a minute or two in between rides to let my body come back to the land of the living. And then we made a decision that would ultimately be the beginning of the end for me. We got in line for Skyrush. Now, prior to this trip, I had heard Skyrush was pretty intense. It's not your typical hypercoaster. I knew all about the wicked ejector, whippy transitions, and yes, of course, the restraints. In the back of my head, I knew that this could be the final nail in the coffin for me, yet I proceeded on anyway. We got in the front row, which was one of the slowest moving lines I have ever been in, and ascended the lift hill at breakneck speed. Before I knew it, I was hurtling down the first drop, getting absolutely yoinked in that first airtime hill. The ejector was insane, and I really think that I would have absolutely loved the coaster if I was not in the process of dying while riding it. We hit the brake run, and I was absolutely out of breath. I have never come off a roller coaster sick before, and I wasn't about to now. If I'm being completely honest, it was taking all of my strength to prevent me from hurling right then and there on the ride. I was shaken and not in the milly way just the day prior. After getting off Skyrush, I started to get progressively worse sickness-wise, and I couldn't go on. I had never felt so awful at a park before in my life, and I was so upset because I really wanted to enjoy Hersheypark. Storm Runner, Fahrenheit, Great Bear, and several other coasters were highly anticipated rides I wanted to get on, and I just couldn't do it. We made our way over to guest services at the front of the park to explain our case to them, and they were generous enough to help us out a little for our next trip to the park, which we were grateful for. We ended up skipping the bed and breakfast in Hershey and drove straight to Philadelphia to stay at a family home for the night, where I basically hibernated until the next morning. The next day, we had planned to hit Dorney Park, which was a pretty low priority park for us in all honesty, so we decided to take the day as a rest day and start again on Sunday with Great Adventure. On Sunday morning, I was feeling much better. I was excited to get back to Six Flags Great Adventure as I had previously been in April, but it was pretty cold and I didn't get as many rides in as I had hoped. We met up with some friends at the park, which made the day feel more relaxed since we weren't in a hurry to get on anything. While I hung around and got some footage at the park, our friends took a ride on Wonder Woman, a Zamperla Disco, and Batman, the park's B&M invert. Afterwards, we headed to Nitro, where we got a great front row ride. Despite being the middle of June, the morning was surprisingly chilly, and zooming on Nitro at 80 miles per hour was pretty cold, but it was still a great B&M hyper. We headed to Jersey Devil Coaster next, where I was pleasantly surprised to see absolutely zero line for the ride, which honestly was the theme of the day. Just about everything was a walk-on, and the park wasn't running one train on any of the rides we rode, which was really great to see from a Six Flags park. I got my first ever back row ride on Jersey Devil and I was blown away. Compared to my first rides in April, the coaster was hauling this time around, and in the back row, I was getting completely yanked through every element. The first drop was one of the best first drops I have ever experienced, and the rest of the layout was so rapid fire. I absolutely loved it. From there, we headed toward the other side of the park and made our way to Kingda Ka. I was determined to get a front row ride on the world's tallest roller coaster, and I can confirm that the first row is definitely the best row. The speed is absolutely nuts. My face quite literally went numb from the flapping and the wind. I still prefer Dragster over Ka, but I do think that Ka's launch is just a bit more powerful. Next up was El Toro, the park's legendary Intamin prefabricated wooden coaster. I was excited to get another ride on Toro as I wasn't very impressed by my April rides, and I walked away with a better impression this time around, but not astronomically better. We sat towards the back, and the first drop and the first few camelbacks were awesome, but I think that after the first half, the ride is just okay for me. Don't get me wrong, I do like Toro, but I just think it's a good roller coaster and not a legendary top 5 for me. After Toro, we went on Runaway Mine Train and Medusa, which I thought was just an okay B&M floorless coaster. I was pretty unimpressed by the retheme as I could still see the Bizarro logo on the new Medusa sign, but the paint looked nice. After Medusa, I took a break from coaster riding to do a photo and video lap around the park before calling it a day. We wanted to get home pretty early as we had an early morning the next day continuing the trip, so after getting a couple shirts and other merch, we hit the road to head back to Philly around 6 o'clock. All in all, the weekend had some mixed feelings. I was upset about the way things had gone at Hersheypark, but I guess you could file that as just another reason to get back to the park. I didn't get to ride Wildcat, which was a bummer, but at least when I get back to the park, it'll be one heck of an RMC next year. And I will be much more prepared that time around. I don't have much final thoughts on Hersheypark. I guess the only thing I would mention is to be careful buying Fast Track, as the wait times may not always be what they seem. Maybe scope out the park first and then determine whether you'll need them, as they aren't cheap by any means. Besides that, I can't wait to get back to Hersheypark so that we can both redeem ourselves. As for Great Adventure, I can tell that it is easily one of the best Six Flags parks. It's got an awesome lineup of coasters, and I really couldn't have asked for a better day at the park. I can't wait to get back to this park as well, and maybe someday in the distant future, El Toro will absolutely blow me away. Only time will tell. The final ride counts for Hersheypark are as follows: 1 on Candemonium, 1 on Comet, 1 on Super Duper Looper, and 1 on Skyrush. The final ride counts for Great Adventure are as follows: 2 on Jersey Devil Coaster, 1 on Nitro, 1 on Kingda Ka, 1 on El Toro, 1 on Runaway Mine Train, and 1 on Medusa. In my next video, I'll be covering my time at King's Dominion, so stay tuned for that video coming out soon. With that, I'm Sean from East Coast Amusements, and I'll see you guys in the next one.